let's get started with some general introductions. We will do our little intro. I will be doing my intro for every session because they'll be sliced up separately. So if you've seen my intro a couple times by the end of the day, that's okay. They'll probably get shorter and shorter. Then we're going to just go through some of the basics of getting to know MakeCode Arcade. We'll look at the homepage. We'll talk about tutorials versus skill maps versus curriculum. We'll look at how to start a project. And then if some of you are new, you may not know that we just released a major update, our first major update in a couple of years. So if we have time, I'll talk about some of that. And then at the end, I have some resources for you, and I have a survey. Introduction. This is me. Doesn't look much like me anymore. My hair is a different color, and I'm not wearing sunglasses. But my name is Kiki Prottsman. I am at Kiki VSIT almost everywhere on social media. If I look familiar to you, that might be because I started out at code.org. So I was over there for several years. I wrote their first few sets of curriculum, and then I moved into doing specifically their elementary school curriculum. So if you have done the computer science fundamentals curriculum, you have probably seen my face, maybe quite a bit. I moved over here in 2020, at the end of 2020. So I've been here just about 5 years. And I put those books up there. I do have a couple of books. These are my educator books. I have some for kids as well. And then I do have a code if anybody's interested in getting my latest book, Let's All Teach Computer Science. And it is that bit.ly code, LATCS. And you can use Raven25 to get 25% off. Our producer today is Sarah Reitkirk, and she is at Sarah on the MakeCode forum. She is also doing a session this afternoon. She has an Ask Me Anything session at 3 p.m. That'll be taking live questions from the audience about what it's like to be a MakeCode engineer. And she also happens to be a woman in computer science. So if you have any questions about being a woman in computer science, that is a great place to ask those as well. We will have a special hashtag to ask those questions so they don't get kind of lost in the overall chat. All right, so Jacqueline told you that we actually got started using the hardware stuff, and eventually our arcade product popped up. Our other two products we still use. Oh, let's see, I think we've got a little animation here. Waha! Fun. We still support our microbit product and our Minecraft EDU product. They're both amazing ways to learn to code, and they use our same similar block-based interface, and you can choose between using the blocks or using the text. But today is all about Arcade. Arcade is our first solo product. So it is our product and our product alone. It is also our first product that doesn't require any buy-in. So there is no item to purchase. There's no subscription to purchase. It is absolutely free. All of our lesson plans are absolutely free. We even have some curriculum sets that Jacqueline will be talking about later, and our entire sets of curriculum are absolutely free. So we welcome you to come along and play. Speaking of coming along to play, we are going to hop over to arcade.makecode.com. And this is what you will see. And actually, mine is blown up really far. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a bit here. And this is our homepage. So it has a banner at the top that'll kind of let you know if there's anything new and important that we want you to take a look at. For now, we have ArcadeCon and our new pizza party. So I don't know if you've played the pizza party lately, but we have a new version that's lots of fun. We also have a project row. This row is for the projects that you create yourself. And if you've done any tutorials or any skill maps and you have saved those to your projects, they will show up there as well. And it's a great place to be able to just find what you were working on. Although certainly you can save them off to your computer and take them with you that way as well. If you don't like to log in, sometimes you want to be able to take them to multiple computers. We do have a login though. So our login experience, I'm not logged in at the moment. There will be a session later that I need to log in for, but our login experience allows you to log in to a Microsoft account, and it could be a Google account, it could be a Clever account, but it allows you to log in to the Microsoft version of your account so that you can save all of your stuff. But it also allows you to log in to GitHub. So if you are a GitHub user, you can interface with GitHub through uh, our interface. And I'll show you later kind of how to do that. We'll be working with some extensions, and that'll require us to do that as well. The first couple rows here are skill maps. The very first one is beginner skill maps. A couple of these are what I call beginner. And I call them that because they are very hand-holdy, very step-by-step. They show you exactly the block that you need. And in some cases, there's even anti-GIFs that show you how to take the exact block you need every single step and drag it into the workspace. So these are good for people who are just learning to do block coding, maybe people who aren't as strong of readers. These first couple are perfect for that. And then as you go down this row a little bit, you have some that pull back just a little. Maybe there's no anti-GIF. And then by the time you get to burst in balloons, it's not even showing you the block you need. It's just telling you what block you need. And then you have to go locate it yourself. So these are all a lot of fun, and I really enjoy them. As you get a little more comfortable with block-based coding, you go into next level skill maps. And those next level skill maps are a little more, I'm not going to quite say intermediate yet, although we kind of start to get in that intermediate space with Code and Adventure. But they just require a little more thinking, a little more cognitive load in order to get through. And they start to get longer as well. By the time you get to Save the Forest or Jungle Jump over here, you can see Jungle Jump is quite long. And while I'm talking about that, I'll actually, let me go through tutorials before I pull this up. But this is a good way to show kind of the difference between a skill map and a tutorial. So you'll see these entire rows of tutorials down here. We have our very famous Chase the Pizza. Many people who have done our tutorials have done Chase the Pizza as one version. These tutorials are single tutorial experiences. So you have one set of instructions from start to finish, and then you make a game that is more or less a complete game. The difference is that skill maps, you're making a more complex game most of the time. Some of them feature animation. They feature a lot of steps that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get through in just a single tutorial. So we link a bunch of little tutorials together. And the way we do it is we try and make each little tutorial kind of have a win at the end of it. So you kind of first you put a sprite on the screen, yay, a little win, and then you've got another one, and then you make the sprite move, yay, another win. And so it's very gratifying each way through. And often you have a complete playable game by the end of that third level or so. So that's what those are. As we go down just a little bit further, we have some multiplayer tutorials, and we will talk about that a little bit more throughout the day, the multiplayer. But these games are tutorials you can build and then play with friends online in our very secure, very safe online multiplayer tool. Okay, so that's about as far down as I'm going to go to show you what we have here. I'm going to go ahead and open a skill map so that you can see what they look like. Since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and open Jungle Jump. It wasn't originally what I planned on doing, but that's the fun part of this, is that there's so much to choose from. So you'll see when this opens, we have this little map of levels, and that will take us through to do all sorts of fun things. We have a description of the map over here, and we have this learning outcomes page. So when I click on the learning outcomes page, you'll see that this opens something fairly similar to a teacher, or at least I think you'll see. There we go. Fairly similar to a teacher lesson plan. So it tells you about how much time each level should take for the students that this was meant to be used with. Gives you some objectives, game design concepts, and then it shows you kind of the blocks that you'll be using in each session. It even gives you kind of a little solution option. So it's almost like an answer key, but it does show you a version of the game that you could have by the time you're done with that level. So it has that for each level in the skill map. A lot of teachers don't know that those are there. So and some teachers don't need them at all. They just kind of turn the students loose. But if you are looking for that little kind of lesson plan style thing, then that's where you find it, right here in learning outcomes. As you click on each of these levels, you'll kind of see an image of what you should be able to do by the end of that level. And we just have getting, moving it around. We have the ability to win or lose the game. Uh, you want to be able to jump, not just jump, but create things to jump on, then explode the things that you want to take away. And as you go, you'll have animations and all sorts of fun items. And after your first 3 levels, you've got a complete game. You don't have to keep going. But everything after that just kind of allows you to do a little bit more. So while can students access the learning outcomes? Yes, they can. However, I have never seen a student ever find it. In fact, I haven't even ever seen a teacher find it out in the wild. So they are pretty well hidden. But yes, it is possible. The skill badges. So we do have badges. When you complete, you get these certificates, but then if you're logged in, you can also get a little badge that goes in your profile. And those badges aren't tied to any specific badge management system. So it's not necessarily something you could put in a digital wallet for a future employer. But hey, you can copy it and put it on your social media platform and let people know that you got through Jungle Jump, which is one of the fun ones. And it really is a game that students enjoy because they really like making platformers. I'm going to walk through just one step of this tutorial real quick, show you a couple of things that you might not have known you could do. And then we'll look at making an actual project from the start. So this is just our modal that pops up at the beginning. Almost all of our tutorials and skill maps have one of these. And the instructions are over here. And they tell you what you should do. And this one already has a background image and a tile map in it when you get started. And that's because the tile maps are really difficult to teach. And this was not originally built as an intermediate level tutorial. It will be switching to an intermediate level, like a true intermediate level tutorial at some point. Excuse me. So, but then when you get to the place where it needs blocks, it tells you what category to look in and which block to look for. When you do that, if you don't know where you're looking, particularly with this kind of block where the colors don't match, the color of the block doesn't match the color of the category it's in, you can click on this and it will open the category you need so that you can easily find the block you're supposed to find and pull it out. So this is our instruction panel. We have our toolbox right here in the center, and then we have our workspace. And when you put code in the workspace, it will render on your game window. And so your game window is down here, and that allows you to see your game every step of the way so that you can see exactly what your code is doing as you're building, which is a lot of fun for students. It's also helpful for debugging because if students are constantly looking at that game window and know it worked here, it worked here, it worked here, it didn't work here. It helps give them a place where they can go and look back at what was happening. Also, you'll notice this game window is a little bit small. You can click this button over here to blow it up nice and big, and then you can play your game. We don't have any playable items in the game right now, but the instructions will tell us how to create one. And so you can just follow along. We have a wonderful sprite library. If you're new here, something you may have realized is that everything looks a little bit on the pixelated side, and that's as intended. We built this to kind of simulate that retro style arcade game. And one of the reasons that we really like this is that, well, it's Jungle Jump, and I just chose a duck. Sorry about that. Uh, one of the reasons that we really like this idea is because it helps manage expectations. When you go into a game development course, students might join that course thinking that they're going to make something, like a massive multiplayer online game, something like Halo with 3D graphics and lighting and all of that. And, maybe they will get to that place, but the intro to computer science students probably aren't quite ready for that. Most of those games take several years and a few hundred, maybe $1 million. So this helps keep expectations in that, like Super Mario Brothers, Pac-Man space. And that is something that is absolutely within reach for learning this curriculum. And sometimes for some students, it's within reach in a single class in a single hour. So this Jungle Jump would probably take about 5 days to complete if the student is doing their own artwork and really getting into it, learning all of the things that they need to learn. If it's accompanying curriculum, this actually works great with our Intro to CS curriculum. Yeah, so you can see a little sprite on the screen. It is the same color as that background up there. So it's a little hard to see, but when I blow it up, you can see it really nice. And yeah, that's our tutorials. You walk through the tutorials step by step. And then when you're done, let me just kind of fast forward. It will take you back out to the skill map, and it asks you if you want to sign in. You are welcome to sign in. If you sign in, it can save your progress, and not just save it to the computer, but it'll save it in the cloud so that you can reopen this on any computer and be back in the same spot that you left off. As you can see, and as I mentioned earlier, you can log in with Microsoft account. So if you have an Xbox account, or if your school is a Microsoft school, you can use that. If you're a Google school, you can also log in with your Google account. So your Google account will work for this. And then we also have Clever. So I'm seeing people ask if it's available in other areas, and yes, it is available in other areas. We have several languages of our main interface is translated into Arabic, German, Spanish, French, Irish, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Chinese simplified, and Chinese traditional, and Dutch. So it's something that you can use with now. Not all of the languages are translated for every single tutorial, but the blocks are translated. Now, if you do not want to sign in, you do not have to sign in. You can just close this and keep going, and your progress will be saved to this machine in its local cache. Now, the problem with that is if your students use different computers each time, they don't know which computer they're getting, then they won't be able to re-access from right where they were. Or if your school wipes the cache every time you shut the computer down, then that will get lost. So that's one of the things that sign in is great for. The other is being able to access the badge. You don't get a badge. You will still get a certificate, but the badge has to be associated with your profile. So if you log in, you'll get that. And then sharing games with a persistent link so that every time you make a change, the same link updates. That requires sign in. And the other thing that requires sign in is the ability to host an online multiplayer game. You need to be signed in order to do that. So those are the things that require sign in, but you can do almost everything else with no sign in whatsoever, completely anonymously. Whew, lots to cover. You'll see when we get done with that, we will move on, and the next level will unlock, and they can go do that next level. If they don't want to, if they want to completely divert from what we had planned for them, they can click on the last level that they did, and they can share it, or they can save it to their own projects. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my projects so that I can show you the next step. which is very similar to creating your own project. So I'll do that, save to project, and you'll see that it kind of quickly went to my main screen, created a little project tile, and then opened up the editor so that I could have all of the categories here to choose from. So I'm no longer limited to just the categories that were in the actual tutorial. Uh, and I can keep building. If I want, I can still go back to the tutorial and keep moving along. But this version, the snapshot that got saved, will always be this for me to kind of build off of. Now I'm going to come back to arcade.makecode.com. I'm going to reload because you saw I just made that project and this window, my projects are empty, but you'll see, there we go. So the name of the level I completed was called Moving Monkey. And so my project was titled Moving Monkey. And I have that in here now that I can play with. But I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to go here to New Project. And I'm going to give the project a name. And you'll see that I get more hearts the longer and more descriptive I make my name. So I'm just going to call that, this is not Moving Monkey. There we go. And now I have a project. There are a couple differences here between projects and tutorials. Namely, this simulator is no longer down here. It's now up here in the side window where you might be used to seeing a simulator for microbit if you use the microbit. We have all of these categories, although you might notice in my, oh, that's not the one I wanted. Oh, those are the stickers I shared. I never actually showed you the stickers you were getting. So that's the stickers, aka.ms/arcade stickers. Okay, so what I was trying to show you is in this project that I made from my tutorial, there are some categories here that are not in the main portfolio in the toolbox when you start a new project. These are called extensions, and we have a couple of great sessions on extensions coming up. So Bill and Sarah from Code Ninjas will be doing a session about existing extensions, and then I will follow up with a session about making your own extensions. But that's why you'll occasionally see things in here that are not in your other projects. You can add them to your other projects, and I will save how to do that for that next session. But this is what you'll see when you start a standard project, and you can just get in there and start building. You don't have to follow any sort of protocol. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to kind of start pulling things out. I'm going to make it so that when the A button is pressed, my sprite, let's see, my sprite starts. We're going to make this a very juicy ham. How's that sound? So we're going to make this sprite spray pixels for 200 seconds every time. And then I'm going to blow this up real quick. So now we have a clicker game where my juicy ham is leaking. And I just see so many problems with the way I just said that for middle school classrooms, but that's okay. We're going to move past it. Anyway, you can see in just 4 blocks, we have a pretty fun clicker game that people could play for quite a while. If we add some points to it, just as simple as going in and changing the score by 1 every time I click that A button or press the space bar. And now I have a clicker game that keeps points. So fun stuff. It's really, really easy to get started in MakeCode Arcade. Super easy to build something fun, super easy to build something familiar in MakeCode. That is starting a project. I'm going to pop back to my slides real quick because I need to remember what else I'm not ready for wrapping up yet. Here we go. What else I promised you? Starting a project. Oh, 2025 updates. So let's take a look real quick at some of the updates. You might notice just by looking that my screen looks different than yours, unless you've already found some of our updates. But I have kind of a more modern teal color with a grayish background. There's dots back there. I can't really see them right now, but there's some dots back there. And that's because we introduced something called themes. So in this little gear here, the settings menu, you can click theme, and now we have a couple of different options that we can choose from. So most of y'all are probably on the orange theme. That should look really familiar. I prefer the light theme. I feel like it's more bouncy, more playful, and it is easier on my brain. But other people prefer the dark theme. It's easier on their eyes. It makes them feel more grown up, and it matches a little more what they might be used to if they've used some VS Code. So that's there. And then we also have high contrast theme. And the high contrast theme makes it easier to just see everything a little bit better with a little less strain on the eyes. So students can choose between which theme they want. They don't have to be signed in to do that, but occasionally you will need to change back if you've been using things that aren't cached. So light is going to be mine. I see some people in the chat asking about curriculum. We do have curriculum. And if you scroll down a little more on our homepage, you'll see it. But we have a whole session dedicated to choosing arcade curriculum. So I'm not going to steal Jacqueline's thunder on that. I'm just going to kind of keep moving along here. Something else that we've added is this is getting to know MakeCode Arcade. So this is the very entry level session. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so one other thing we added is version history. And if you've ever had a student who has maybe lost some work or got to a space where they added so much that it no longer worked and they really wished they could go back to a working version, but they didn't save it off, that's what version history is for. So you can see I started this about 1022. And so I have that version there. And it will take little snapshots every, I want to say 5 minutes, but it could be 15. I'm not completely certain, but you do have different snapshots. You can also choose to save off a copy whenever you want, or whenever you share, it'll save a version as well. So you can go back to this and always have access to your previous work, which is really nice. We also have a tour, an editor tour that we added this time. You didn't see that because I've already been playing with this, even though it is in private mode. I was already playing with this, so I just missed my tour, but you can get back to that through the help menu, and you can click on tour, and it'll just walk you through all of the important little areas here. And I'm about to break my own rule. We're supposed to get over about 27 past and then give people time to fill out the survey. And so I'm going to hop back over here. There is more. There's so much more you can do, but this is just a getting started. And there we go. This is just a getting started. We will have more throughout the day. If you have questions on how to do things, please do join us at our forum, forum.makecode.com. We have a little educator lounge there. And if you missed something here, you can ask about it in the educator lounge. If there are links we forgot to give you, we'll put that in the educator lounge. And then we will also make sure that you have any of the giveaways, like the stickers that we showed you earlier.